wife go everywhere together. Sometime her family will ask, is Wayne coming? Because they up to something. See, I'm keenly aware of my wife's space and who she hangs out with. If you're a husband, you need to check out your wife's girlfriends. I'm just giving regular advice. Some women do anything. Some women take your wife out to see if she'll mess up. Be a keenly aware. When it says dwell with them with intimacy, you better know who your wife friends are. I had a lady kept telling me one day, and I'm gonna be blunt now because ain't nothing here but men, right? We all men, right? Oh, y'all didn't answer like that. I had an old car, and I pulled up to the job, and my car broke down. On my wife's job. Now, how embarrassing is that? I'm sitting in front of her job to pick up. She come outside, the car won't start. So one of her supposedly girlfriends comes out and says, hey, what's wrong with that old car? My wife's standing there. I'm a man standing there. And back then, I wasn't as shy as I am now. So she would ask me, what's wrong with the old car? So, and why it's not starting? She said, my husband's car always starts. And she was standing in front of my wife. So I said to her, is that the same husband you used to be married to? I'm kind of, I was, excuse me, Apostle and Pastor Duncan, I was bad back then. But you got to be careful who you allow to be in your space, in your intimacy with your wife. It says, secondly, it says here in the scripture, it says, give honor to the wife, which is the weaker vessel. Weaker vessel does not mean she's ignorant or she's stupid. It just means she's the weaker vessel physically. She's just as spiritually strong as you are. She's your helpmate. She walks alongside you. The key thing that I want to share with you guys today is the respect and love. The greatest thing you can give your wife is your complete love of her, meaning you'll do anything for her. She comes before anything else. A husband honors his wife not because she earns it, it's because she deserves it. I heard someone once say, if you treat her like a queen, she's obligated to treat you like a king. I don't like the word obligated. I don't want anybody obligated to do anything for me. I want you to love me because of me. There has to be no obligation at all. Treat her like a queen. Husbands must treat their wives with respect, and it will turn out right for you. A guy used to always tell me when he called me, hey, give your wife a kiss on the forehead for me, and then whatever happens after that is on you. So I'm telling you guys, when you go home today, give your wife a kiss on the forehead, and whatever happens after that is for you. When you show respect to your wife, whatever happens after that is for you. Husbands and dads' primary responsibility is to train children and make your children know that you love them more than anything else in the world. You know, one of the greatest struggles for young people today is they don't know their parents love them. They know you done bought them PlayStations, Michael Jordan tennis shoes. You got them in every sport. You drop them off and we don't see them anymore. Kids need to know that their parents love them more than anything in this planet. I have two kids, Marquita and TJ. They're 39 and 37. They know that I love them more than anything in the world. I'll do anything for them. I'll go anywhere for them. Our kids as men, our kids got to know, just like our wives, there's nothing more important to you. Your friends are not more important. Your church is not more important. Your job is not more important. See, when you start talking to a man about something he loves, and he starts with everything but his wife, that's not a guy you need advice from when you're about to get married. If your job is the greatest thing, your church is the greatest thing, your car is the greatest thing, your fraternity is the greatest thing, if whatever you own is greater than your relationship, then you're in trouble. You're in trouble. Your wife is not supported. Your wife is not undercovering. This is hard because we don't hear this. We don't hear this. Most of the time we boast in what we have. Ask a man who he is, he start bragging about what he got. When you ask me, I call my wife Boo, right from the pulpit. People look at me and find out when he going to stop saying that. I'm going to say it until they take me home. Because that's what she means to me. Remember, you're always, as a dad or as a husband, you are always teaching. You know why you're always teaching? Because your kids and your wife is always watching and they're always listening. You might think you're doing something. I told somebody you got a taught behavior and a learned behavior. See, sometimes you teach your kids stuff and sometimes they just learn stuff. Why is my daughter dropping it low at school? Because you was in the club doing it. Oh, you didn't know that spirit fathers her home? We got to be very careful of how we do things because your kids will pick it up and you say, how did they, I never taught them that. Yes, you did. If you're not spending time with them and when they become teenagers, they don't want to spend no time with you. You're going to wonder, how did that happen? Because they don't feel the love. They need to feel that you love them more than anything on this planet. That's what kids need. They need the support. As men, your wife needed, and as men, we need it. This is something I want to share with you. Maya Angelou once said this, and this is powerful. This is definitely for us today. It says this: if you must look back, do it forgivingly. If you got to look back, dads, husbands, do it forgivingly. If you must look forward, do it prayerfully. But this is the most powerful statement for a mom or for a dad or a husband on today. It says this: however, the wisest thing that you can do is to be present in the present. The wisest thing. If you're going to look back, go ahead and look back, but make sure you do it forgivingly. If you're going to look forward, I got a great future. I got a goal. I got a plan. If you got all that going on, do it prayerfully. But the wisest thing you can do as a man is to be present in the present. It's called be where your feet are. That's what it's called, be where your feet are. That means I'm going to turn up in a few moments. That means if your wife is sitting in this chair and you sitting in this chair and y'all conversating, Brandon's name shouldn't come up. Apostle's name shouldn't come up. My name only name should come up is hers. That means she's getting 100% of your attention. We got people talking about, I can't believe my kids went over here and did this. I can't believe they ended up on drugs. Sure they did, because guess what? You never gave them 100% of your time. Your job got it, your church got it, your friends got it, but your wife didn't get it and your kids didn't get it. 100% of your time. Your kids, when you with your kids, they need 100% of your time. I read this in a book, Be Where Your Feet Are, where the president of the 76ers said he had a playoff game against the Sixers and New York Knicks, Game 7. He said at tip-off, he was at a high school sitting on the bleachers watching his daughter play. He was the president of the team because he said, I learned to be where my feet were. So wherever you are, if you're sitting out eating dinner with another brother, be where he is. Your wife know when you're talking about, honey, did you do this? And you're sitting like this. You turning channel. Your wife talking to you, but you're not 100% where she is. As men, I just want to encourage you today, be where your feet are. If you at church on Sunday morning, you should not be thinking about Golden Corral. As men, be where your feet are. As a dad, be where your feet are. Husbands manage their household well. He's a manager. I am 61 years old. I've been married 39 years. I've been a father for 39 years. I've been saved for 29 years. My greatest kingdom assignment is still being a husband and being a dad. I bless you today. Thank you very much.
That is awesome. It starts at home. It starts at home. Next up will be Pastor Duckett. He'll be speaking on expanding your gifts. Pastor Duckett.
Praise the Lord, everybody. Come on, praise the Lord, everybody. Come on, y'all can do better than that. Praise the Lord, everybody. We in church, right? It don't have to be Sunday for me to give God praise. Come on, praise the Lord, everybody. I am honored to be here. This man of God that pastors this great church, New Life, had the opportunity to invite him as my guest on last week, because last week was our men's weekend, and this man called Apostle Abraham Shanklin Jr. will never be invited back to New Kingdom Faith Christian Church again. We right down the street. We only about 5 minutes down the street, and it was, what he did was amazing. He shared some very powerful things with the men in the congregation of our church. So I really want to thank him. Can we give the great apostle Abraham Sankum Jr. a great hand of applause? I don't know where that redskin thing came from, but I don't know if is he a leader of your church? You got to question if he's still leading. You got that cowboy hat on, and you got somebody talking about Redskins. That's a team that don't even exist anymore, I don't think. Still talking about that. But listen, man, listen. We have one of the challenges, I believe, as men is that many of us have come into church to do church and never really understand what their spiritual gift is. You are able to perform duties within the ministry that you've been assigned or you volunteered for. But I truly believe in this season where we are, and I believe that's the reason why they come. I am a proponent of ensuring everyone understands what their spiritual gift is. Because when you discover what your spiritual gift is, I believe, Apostle, your gift and assignment go together. So when you find and discover your gift, then you'll know what your assignment is. And what we're trying to do in this season, as you can see, we're trying to expand the kingdom. You can write this down. Expand the kingdom by executing ministry in excellence. You expand the kingdom by executing ministry in excellence. Now, let me tell you, I got that word excellence from this great apostle. I walked through the building. I've seen everything. I've been trying to get that building on 500 McCormick Drive to look exactly. It can't look like this, but it can feel like this. Excellence, y'all need to help me here. Excellence has a feeling to it. You can feel excellence. And so I believe in order to expand the kingdom, you have to execute ministry in excellence. And in order to do that, you must know what your spiritual gift is. Now, let me get a show of hands. How many persons have actually did a spiritual gift survey before? Okay, it's about, okay. If you have not, that is something you need to do immediately. It's something that take about 10 to 15 minutes. I can send it to Raymond where he can email it to everyone. We just did it in our church about 2 weeks ago, and people were enlightened on exactly what their gift actually was. Because I believe now I have to make sure the church that I pastor that I am matching assignments with gift. If you can't sing like me, I can't have you singing on worship. Okay. I love to be able to sing, but I can't do that. But we have persons that want to do that, but they're not there. But as men, where we are and where God is positioning us right now is to lead the church, lead the kingdom expansion process. So you have to be you got to be in tune with where God is leading you through the gift that he planted in you. There's something on the inside. He says, I know the plans I have for you, the plans to give you a hope and what? A future. So he planted something in you to ensure that it comes out of you, to ensure the kingdom is being expanded. Come on, somebody. We in the church right now, you need to understand that your gift is going to be exposed when you really come to the point where you come to the end of yourself. When you come to the end of yourself, you're actually walking in the line of being a disciple. Where my disciples at? Is 2 of y'all disciples? Wait, 3 or 4. Where my disciples at? We here. Okay, I want to make sure I'm talking to the right group now. Okay, disciples understand what their gift is. When they walked with him, when the men walked with him, he challenged them, he trained them on how to be what? A disciple. He said, if you want to follow me, you got to do what? Deny yourself, take up your cross and do what? Follow me. That's in order for you to be a disciple. So my challenge today is I didn't kind of formally introduce. I am the pastor of New Kingdom Faith Christian Church. Been married, it'd be 36 years in November. 36 years in November. My wife and I, we've been married since high school. We knew each other 11th grade. We got married when I got out the when I went into the Air Force, came back off leave, tech training, got married, and we went on to Zaragoza, Spain, and and the rest is history. Yeah, we've been together for a long time, and she also pastors with me at New Kingdom Faith. And let me show you how powerful it is. This is how powerful of you knowing what your gift is, because then you're going to lead your family. Come on, somebody, listen to me. My wife and I graduated high school together. We graduated with our bachelor's degree together. We went to Howard University School of Divinity, graduated with our divinity degree together. And we went to Ashland University to get our D-Min and graduated that together. So I'm leading, and she's literally right beside me as we're expanding the kingdom, because I recognized early on that my gift was teaching. I can't teach you anything if I don't know anything. Okay. I can't teach Raymond if I'm not acquiring, if I don't have the thirst for knowledge. So in order for you to really know what your thirst is, you got to know what your gift is. And then, Raymond, what's going to happen is you're going to literally try to go out there and exercise the gift. Can I help you understand something? I love Sunday morning. Don't get me wrong. I love Sunday morning with the best of them. I can be in church, and as y'all see, if y'all came with Apostle, he teaching, I'm up on the pulpit trying to teach with him. I'll go in with you. I'm telling y'all, I'll go in with you. I'm going to encourage you, and I love it from the moment we step in, the praise and worship. I love it all, but you don't expand the kingdom on Sunday morning. Sunday morning is an evangelistic moment for you to literally encourage others, literally allow others to be able to join the movement. But true expansion happens. Come on, somebody. True expansion happens when you go out of these walls and exercise your gift. When you start exercising your gift outside of these walls, then that's what's going to happen. Then what's going to happen? He said, if I be lifted up, what did he say? What's the scripture? Then I'll what? Draw all men unto who? Me. If you lift him through your gift, then what's going to happen? He's going to draw all men where? Unto him. It's your gift that's going to draw. It's your gift that God is going to use. So let me give you a small testimony for the persons that may not know our history, the connection that New Life and New Kingdom has. One of the first things we did as a partner, as a gift, the gift of pastoring. The gift of pastoring, you have to learn to shepherd people, but you also learn to partner with other ministries. Got to have that gift of knowing how to partner. Come on, somebody. Can I help you understand that you can't do this thing by yourself? Okay, many of us want to try to stand on this island and try to do it all by ourselves. You cannot do life alone. So as I'm coming up, the first thing, I didn't have a baptism pool. I needed to baptize people. I had to partner with someone that had something that I didn't have. Y'all missing this whole thing. I had to partner with someone that had something that I didn't have. So I partnered. We was able to baptize in the pool in the back. We did all that. But then the pandemic hit. One of my spiritual gifts, Raymond knows, is I love helping people. I want to see the people blessed. I want to see the people nourished. I want to see the people expanded. I want to see the people, somebody say, living their best life. That's a passion for me. If you're connected with me, I want to make sure you're living your best life. So we had to, of course, during the pandemic, we had to feed. We were feeding communities. We were doing all this feeding. I mean, it was just amazing all they had. But now the pandemic has slowed down. You don't see persons feeding as much. But the gift that God gave me on expansion, this is what he showed me what to do. During the pandemic, Raymond, and I'm telling y'all got to listen to this. During the pandemic, God literally planted in me to open up a facility in order to be able to feed the other pantries. This is not from me, this is from God. God said The county is giving away money at the time. Literally during the pandemic, they were just giving money away. God said, instead of you taking it, take it and literally use this revelation that I have. God told me this, Apostle. I don't think I've ever shared this with you. He said, through the gift that he gave me, he said, I want you to build a hub, Anne Arundel County Food Bank hub at North County, in the North County. Y'all got to understand that food bank is in Crownsville, but it's nothing up here. So now what God gave me when he gave me that revelation, we now have a hub up here where we're actually storing the food to be able to distribute to the other pantries. Are y'all missing this? Y'all getting this? Or are y'all trying to, okay, maybe I'm in the wrong crowd. When he gives you a revelation, he's going to match the revelation with your gift. And when that happened, now I'm able to make sure Apostle has his food. I'm able to make sure the Palmers have their food. I'm able to make sure Apostle Thomas has his food. All of these St. Mark's down, I'm able to make sure all of these persons, all of these places are being able to get the food that they need because God gave me the revelation through my gift. You are holding up somebody's blessing because you ain't exercising your gift. Your gift, look at this, Raymond, doesn't benefit you. It benefits what? The kingdom. The kingdom is expanded because you are exercising your gift. What are you sitting on? What are you sitting on? What are you holding back in which you know that if you allow God to use you, other persons are going to be blessed because of it? This is why I believe he sent me here, because it's time for us to literally stretch ourselves. It's time to literally allow the moment all the information that we're receiving here from Anne Arundel County Health Department through this great ministry, New Life, we just can't write down and look at these things. We got to start moving. We got to start living. We got to literally start going out and making sure the Bible declares, I need you to go and make disciples. He didn't say, I just need you to become a disciple. Come on, somebody. I need to make disciple makers. And disciple makers go out. It goes out. So this is where I've been charged this afternoon. You have to discover your gift. And once you go on that journey of discovery, and once you discover it, then it's going to be up to you to make sure you match your gift with your assignment. And then once you match your gift with your assignment, then God is going to literally position you to be a blessing to expand the kingdom by executing ministry in excellence. So what is your next step from this point? This great gathering of men, all this power in here. All this power in here. Jefferson, Apostle Pastor Jefferson, he taught at our prayer breakfast on Saturday. He said the moment God breathed into you, he gave you dominion over everything. Not some things, everything. So what are you literally sitting on that's overtaking you, but you should be overtaking it? Okay, I think I'm in the wrong place this morning. Because you need to understand that God has literally given you dominion through your gift. It's your gift that's going to help expand the kingdom. It's your gift that's going to literally lead your family, as our leader just said. Elder Turner just said, it's your gift that's going to literally help expand your family, help grow your family, help put you in positions of prosperity. I don't know about anybody else in here, but I know God didn't call me to be broke. I know God didn't call me to be renting all my life. It is no reason, if you start working your gift, that you shouldn't be owning some things. Thank you, sir. I really appreciate your confirmation on what I just said. So let me share with you as I close this. Raymond gave me a specific assignment. The purpose of expanding your gift is to expand the kingdom. Is to make sure that you're in position to make sure that the kingdom is being expanded and it is growing, and that you're positioning yourself along with your family. Because if you're positioning yourself and if you're in right alignment with your family is going to follow. And once you decide to do that, and once you start exercising that, then as he mentioned, if I be lifted up, I'll draw all men unto me. So I want to thank you so much for allowing me this opportunity to share what I really, truly believe. Please, Raymond, I'm going to send you that link for the survey. He's going to send it out to you. Please, please fill out that survey. Make sure you understand what gift you are expanding. It may be something that you've been avoiding most of your life because you know God has called you to do it, but it's going to stretch you. It's going to stretch you. It's going to pull you into a zone that's very uncomfortable. But it's your gift, and you've been running away from it. Okay, I know I got some runners in here. I know, Apostle, I know I got some runners in here. I know I got some folk running from the gift of preaching. I know I got some folk running from the gift of evangelism. I know I got some folk I know I got some runners in here. You can clap and, overcome, but I know they're here. I know you're here. And you can come on up, sir, Pastor Brandon. I'm getting ready to say this. Even a fast horse gets tired.
Mic drop. So next, I want to introduce my spiritual dad, Dr. Abraham Shanklin Jr. He'll be speaking on a healthy mind, body, soul, and finances.
Mind, body, soul. What do you say? A fast horse? Even a fast horse gets tired? Even a fast horse gets tired. It's interesting. We'll kind of, unfold that a little bit more later. Trying to figure out who the horses are. But so I'm so excited to see all of you here this morning and leading into the afternoon. I don't know if we can, but I want you to make the loudest noise for the ladies who helped serve us today. Will you do that? Just make the loudest noise. And they may not understand, but Brandy, you explained to them that noise was for them. We really appreciate them giving of their time to come and serve us today. And I'm so thankful that you're here at the Center of Transformation, and our passion to just continue to impact our community as we've done for over 29 years. As has been stated, I'm Apostle Abraham Shanklin. I am the founder of New Life Fellowship International Ministry, which is the church under the Center of Transformation. We also, because of our feeding program, the New Image Development Corporation, head up by Pastor Brandon there. And we have a school, we have a child care center, helping to impact young kids and the future generation. So our child care center is from infant all the way to 4 years old. And our elementary school is from 4 years old to 5th grade. 6th grade, actually. It goes up to 6th grade. And we are very excited about being able to contribute and celebrating educating the next generation, which is a very powerful thing, whether you know it or not. But anyway, so I'm going to put that out there. My assignment is about mind, body, and soul. So set all that aside. My assignment to talk to you today is from a clinical perspective. So I have a PhD in clinical Christian counseling. I have a practice called New Momentum Health and Wellness. And literally every week I meet with individuals and couples to help them navigate their mental health issues. And a part of the reason why I got into this part of helping people a couple of decades ago is because I wanted to help white, brown, black, and beige people who look like me. I wanted to help men so that men can understand that it's not a crime to ask for help when you need it. And so if you can see somebody who look like you to have the conversation with, then you'll be comfortable with having the conversation. And so that's the reason why I got into this, because so many men fell into that cultural trap of you don't talk about what you're going through, you don't talk about your business, we don't talk about what's going on. All the while you're not talking about the business, but everybody know your business. Because your business is on display. Watch this. Your business is on display by your behavior. So you think you're hiding what's going on, but in reality, you're not hiding it because your behavior is on display. And when there is no explanation to your behavior, then you leave people to draw conclusions about your behavior. And so literally in my practice, for people, clients that I meet on a weekly basis, particularly the couples that come before me, young couples, and I see couples from as young as 20 all the way up to 70, 70-year-old couples who've been married for like 50 years. So can you imagine a couple that's been married 50 years coming to me for some issues? Because what happens is any issue that you avoid dealing with now will catch up with you later. And the only way that it won't catch up with you is you die. But it's going to catch up with you. And I have clients who are 60 and 70 dealing with childhood issues that happened when they were 10, but they chose not to deal with it when they became adults. You don't have no control of it when you're a kid, but you got all kinds of control over it when you're grown. And so I'm going to tell you the biggest issue that happens between couples, and then I'm going to talk to you a little bit about this, and then we have a panel to go for. I'm going to tell you what the man's problem is, what I found in my practice as a therapist. Okay, so the biggest issue that happens in couples relationships. You'll be glad you came to get this piece of information. So I'm going to give you the secret, and you'll go back and you'll be the champion. And you'll walk back, and they'll be like, wow, you need to go to more breakfasts. You know, it's just some amazing things happen when you go. The conflict, let me tell you where conflict comes between a man and a woman. Conflicts come because of miscommunication. Well, you knew that, duh. We know it's miscommunication. But what are we miscommunicating on? Well, you're miscommunicating on what you are presenting to each other. Women most often presents from a feelings perspective. Men present from a facts perspective. So what happens is she is communicating feelings, but you're thinking facts. You're communicating facts, but she's thinking feelings. The argument comes when she says, I just feel like you don't get me. See what she said? I feel like you don't get me. Well, guess what? You don't get her because you're not feeling her. You see? You don't get her because you're not feeling her. So because then what she says, I feel like you're not getting me. So what's your response? You don't know what you're talking about because what I know, see, you go by what you know, she goes by what she feels. Conflict that can't be resolved because she feels what she feels, but watch this, you know what you know. And so what happens is when she feels what she feels, she ain't wrong. You think what you think, you ain't wrong. So two rights have been canceled. They've been neutralized. The reason why the conflict doesn't get resolved, because two people don't want to not be right. You get it? And then you say, well, everything cool because after a couple of days, we came back together and was all right. No, it didn't get resolved. It just was on pause. Right? You just put it on pause because you were tired of fighting. So you put it on pause. You know why the thing comes back up? Because you get triggered. And then the thing starts all over again. You never solve it because you're still miscommunicating feelings and facts. You feel what I'm saying? Women always most often respond and register based on how they feel. And here's why we as men have a reaction to their feelings. Because they present their feelings as a fact. That's why you have a problem. If they change the way they present it, you would change the way you respond. If they didn't make the feeling sound like a fact, you wouldn't get defensive. You're getting defensive because feelings, remember, is not subject to right or wrong. You have a right to your feelings. You don't have a right to the facts. The problem is you making your feelings sound like a fact. When you come to me like it's a fact, then I got to defend myself because the fact of the matter is you're wrong. And then she comes back and says, well, you don't feel me. Well, the issue was I couldn't feel you because you presented your feelings as a fact. You didn't present your feelings as something to be heard. You presented your feelings as something I needed to defend against. You see how we get into the issue? And so we're going back and forth. So literally, the way that you have to communicate is you got to respond to her feelings. But here's where men, we get into trouble. Here's the clinical. We struggle with responding to feelings because of our incapacity to feel. Because we're not taught culturally to have feelings. So we are uncomfortable with feelings. That's why after she done cried the 5th time, you done turned off the emotional connection. So she done cried the 5th time, immediately like, okay, them tears don't mean nothing to me. Okay, 3 of y'all lying, because y'all good and well know that if she done cried the 5th time, you'd have been like, the waterworks. You can stop with the waterworks right now, because I'm just letting you know right now. Because all I know is all that care stuff like that, hey, we still ain't, this ain't solving up. There you go, always crying again. You see what happens? The reason why we are attacking the tears is because of our uncomfortableness with the feelings. Because feelings are meant for you to sit with them, but because we are incapable of sitting with feelings, then we push them to ignore theirs. To be frustrated. Now, let me tell you what's clinically problematic about men who are not healthy with their feelings. When you're not healthy with your feelings, then here's what happens. Your feelings, gentlemen, somebody say gentlemen, your feelings are manifested in alternative ways. So you think that you don't have no feeling, but watch this. You get angry, that's a feeling. You get violent, that's a feeling. You are in an addiction, that's a feeling. You see what I'm saying? Those are the manifestation of your feelings, because your feelings got to go somewhere. So when they don't, listen, when they don't go where they should go healthily, your feelings always end up in unhealthy scenarios. That's why men are the ones who are most addictive. Because why? Because we go there to offload our feelings. You know why porn is so addictive? Porn is addictive because when you look at a woman, she don't talk back to you. I thought Elder Wayne said this was men. I ain't judging nobody, but when you're looking at her, she don't talk back. She gives you everything you want every time you ask. All the right things that you want her to say. Oh, we in church, the church. You see the church men squirming. Look at just look around, like look around. The church men are squirming. She don't talk back. She gives you everything. She don't say it. No, come on, she got the same smile every time. She don't talk about you. She don't talk down to you. She don't judge you. She don't criticize you. And that's what's addictive. And then, now listen, and then you know what happened, because so what happens is you come off the page or off the screen and you thought, hey, baby, no, you ain't getting none of this. You ain't talked to me all week long. You ain't come on stuff like this. So you're like, I ain't got to put up with this. I'm going to go over here to Sally, which ain't her real name, by the way. What I'm saying to you is that because we as men are not healthy emotionally, that emotion goes somewhere. It goes somewhere. So we're more violent, we're more aggressive, we're more angry, because we're denying the presence of feelings that should be going to a healthy place. So what do? So we got these feelings, we don't know where it goes, and then here's what happens, gentlemen. When you don't offload your feelings in a healthy way, then here's what happens. You push them down and suppress them, okay? So when I talk to my client, a lot of my clients, the men have pushed the feelings down. Now, watch this. Got a young tree you just planted, young oak tree that you just planted, brand new. It's thin, it's small, it's lightweight. If you wanted to move this tree from here to here, all you would need is a little hand pressure and a shovel to dig it up and relocate it and put it here. But what if you planted that tree and left it alone for years? That tree then begins to grow bigger and bigger and stronger and stronger. And remember this, the wider the tree above the surface, the deeper and thicker the roots down below. You got it? So that's why it's difficult for behavior to change. The difficulty in behavior changing is because the roots are thicker and deeper. Because you didn't deal with it when it was a young tree. You're trying to deal with it now as a big tree. And so that's why you can be 50 years old still doing the same stuff. You can be 60 years old still doing the same behavior because you didn't do nothing with it when the tree was young. So now you're trying to do something with the tree as big. And now at 50-some years old or 60-some years old, you thinking, I'm just going to keep it all in. Here's the problem. You know why the tree keeps getting bigger? Gentlemen, the tree keeps getting bigger and thicker and deeper because when you push that stuff down, you push it into the soil to further feed the roots. So now your roots are much deeper in problems, and now your wife, your girlfriend, your significant other comes to a counseling session and says, I've been telling him the same thing for 30 years, and he keeps doing the same thing. That's because you keep pushing that stuff down to feed them roots. And now you a thick, strong tree. You strong. You got a lot of bark, but you got a lot of anger. You got a lot of bark, but you got a lot of violence. You got a lot of bark, but you got a lot of stubbornness. You got a lot of bark, but you cold and distant and disconnected. You got a lot of bark. You a big tree, though. You got a lot of oak on you. Got a lot of branches. Got a lot of kids. Got a lot of baby mamas. Got a lot of flirt in you. But the roots are thick and deep. So that means your issues are thick and deep. And when you want to try to transplant a big oak, you can't use a shovel. You got to bring in heavy equipment. So now it costs you more to transplant the tree to another location. And for some of you, it's cost your marriage, it's cost your relationships, it's cost your finances, it's cost your peace of mind. It costs everything because it always requires so much more when you let that tree grow where it is. Three of the main mental health conditions that men face in this country is anxiety disorders, depression, and PTSD. The three main conditions. And you know where all that comes from? You keeping them feelings inside. You keeping them feelings. Because you still holding on to the belief men don't cry. Men don't show emotion. Men don't break down. Okay, well, keep it in. Press it in. Let it feed the roots. Your tree's still going to grow, bro. You're still going to grow. You ain't going to die. You're still going to grow. You just going to be strong in some stuff you can't get out of. And then who wants to be in a marriage where your wife just ends up tolerating you rather than celebrating you? Where your girl is scared of you rather than being blessed with you. Where your children are in a hurry to get away from you than sitting in your presence getting wisdom from you. Because when they sit under the shade of your tree, it's not protection, it's poison. Because the ground around them cannot hold them up. But go on, keep it in, bro. Go on, keep it in. Okay. My number is 443-739-8314. I take clients 5 days a week. Go on, keep it in. Go on, be a big oak. Go on, represent. Go on, get that Omega symbol branded in the side of that oak. Go on, get your Alpha Kappa. Go on, get it branded. Go on, get your fraternity signal seared into that oak. Go ahead and put the heart, I heart her. Go on, put it in there. Don't deal with the issues, though. Don't deal with the issues. And we make a cataclysmic mistake of trying to always treat the fruit and not treat the root. Treating the fruit, gentlemen, I'm going to give you a little secret, and then we're going to get this panel going. Here's a little secret. When you treat the fruit, you only pause the behavior. You don't change the behavior. So that's why when you do all you can to tell your wife, I'm gonna stop, baby. I'm gonna stop. I ain't gonna do that no more. I'm a changed man. You're a changed man for a minute. Because all you did was pause the behavior. You changed the fruit, but you never changed the root. You didn't, and root equals belief. You never changed the belief. In other words, you never truly believed you was wrong. You just wanted to stop the argument because you knew you couldn't get into the sheets with it. Oh, thank you, brothers. Come on, because the rest of them sleep. You know what I'm saying? Because she wasn't going to, you see what I'm saying? So you just temporarily change. And then the moment she does something you don't like, you do what? Go default right back to the behavior. And then what did she say? See there, I knew you wasn't going to change. Well, you did really believe you was going to change. It just never reached down into the roots. You don't never blame the fruit for the problem with the tree. You always blame the root. So if you want your roots to heal, if you this big oak now, bro, if you're this big oak, if you want to change the root system, we got to get you some kind of fertilizer that can soak its way down in there and bring healing to every root that's in your life. Because they have things that can get into the ground and bring healing to the root. You just got to accept the fact that we need to do it. I'll end by telling you, men is the only group in the country who operates by individualism and meism instead of weism. The biggest issue I have in front of me in my counseling practice is men who come with meism and not weism. And it's the common problem why we struggle to get men together in groups like this. Because how do you get men to turn off individualism and meism and switch to weism? And if you want something different in your root system, we need a community, brother. We need to be able to say to one another that it's okay to change what the roots are, no matter how old you are. Because here's the thing. You do counseling now, or you do counseling later, but you may need to get some jump start to help you get there. Because minus counseling, and listen, not everybody needs counseling, but I'll say this. Here's one formula. Come on, Pastor Duckett and Elder Wayne, we're going to sit up here and answer questions. But here's a formula I want to leave you with. If you don't remember nothing else today, remember this formula. Self-diagnosis plus self-medication equals self-sabotage. When you don't get the help you need, you will self-diagnose. And if you self-diagnose, you never go to the doctor with your own diagnosis, asking them to give you a prescription. You then try to self-medicate. And whenever you self-medicate to what you self-diagnose, you literally self-sabotage yourself. And today ought to be the last day that men self-sabotage. Because we got too much stuff to impact and influence in this world. The kingdom, as Dr. Duckett said. So no more self-diagnosis. I know Google is good, but it ain't that good. I know Google is good. I know searching for stuff on Google is good, but it's not that good. Self-diagnosis plus self-medication. And listen, self-medication is dangerous because can't nobody tell you what you prescribed yourself is wrong. So you done prescribed yourself something, but you didn't have it vetted. Ain't nobody's tested it. And now it's consuming you from the inside out, and everybody see it but you. You showing up, you looking different, but then you daring somebody to call it out. Because self-medication leads to self-destruction. Today, go home different to your wives. Go home different to your daughters. Go home different to your sons and your daughters. Go home different. Go home different to your sisters. Go home as different men. And here's where it starts. Just go home and say, you know what? I know what the root issue is. I don't know the name of it, but I know I got to work on myself. And I don't have no problem doing it. That's the word, gentlemen. That's the word. That's the word.
Okay, so we're going into a portion of question and answer. So if you have any questions, you can ask them, panel. If y'all have any questions for the men, we're going to interact, we're going to talk. And then after that, we're going to go into the raffle. We're going to do 2 raffles. So 2 people got a chance to win some money. All right, 2. All right. So I'll lead off the question with, as a man, what are some tips or advice you can have for us to have better financial discipline?
One of the things that I encourage a lot of my clients who are men is I encourage them what's called the 4 M's. You practice the 4 M's, it helps to create balance. The first M is my manhood. So every week, I think that every man should check in on his manhood. Manhood means, are you going to the doctor? Are you, preventive maintenance? Are you doing physical checkups? Are you making sure if you're at a certain age, the prostate is right? So your manhood is important. How are you mentally? How are you socially? How are you spiritually? Your manhood. The second M is my marriage. Check in on your marriage and see what the state and the status of your marriage is. A lot of times I encounter, the encounters I have with couples is that stuff snuck up on them because they weren't paying attention to the signs. Nothing happens overnight. It's just a slow leak that happens. You weren't paying attention to it. So check in on your marriage. If you're not married, then marriage represents whatever you're most in close relationship with. So you might be married to your job, or you might be married to a hobby. Well, check the status of that. How close? How are you walking in that? The third M is my ministry, right? And so check in regularly on your ministry. Ministry, for those who are not in the church, can also be your professional career. What's your career like? What's going on? Are you steady educating yourself? Are you improving yourself in terms of knowledge and things like that? But the fourth one is finances. What are your finances? Are you educating yourself and staying abreast of your money? Let me just say this. We as men are perpetual. Have you ever heard of men being called a man child? You know where that comes from? That phrase man child comes from men always buying what they want but begging for what they need. That's where the man child comes in at. Buying what you want but begging for what you need. Right? Why is it that we spend $2 billion a year on Air Jordans and $4 billion a year on name brand clothes and watches and stuff? $30 billion a year is spent on hair care products. $2 billion. So when an Asian walks into a room and hear a room full of men, particularly African-American men, specifically talking about reparations, they're saying, what do you mean by reparations? You see, you have made, by virtue, the African-American community, have made the Asian community a $1 trillion nation. You made them a $1 trillion nation. You know why? Because all our money goes to buy their things. You understand that? We buy their things. Can you imagine buying hair care products for $30 billion for 30 years? See how much money they got? You see, so we perpetually are buying what we want, but begging for what we need. And I think that part of financial, responsibility is solved by financial literacy. It's just literally educating yourself on finances, on investments, on money, and what all that means, and finding ways to invest and not just be consumers.
Awesome answer. Awesome.
I got two questions, but I'll start with this one for Pastor Duckett. After you take the survey and you learn about your spiritual gift, what would you say is the next step after that?
Great question. We've been dealing with this in our Bible study. Really share it with your pastor. Share your gift inventory, the results with them. And I believe truly that they're going to share with you where they believe God is calling you or design, or where God is literally leading you. It's a skill. It's a learned skill for a pastor to be able to know what their flock, where they are headed or where they should be. Once you have that skill, once you know those results, you literally have to find that person that's going to help guide you. We've been dealing with this book called Relational Intelligence by Dr. Darius Daniels. And one of the categories of a relationship you should have is an advisor. Your pastor acts as your advisor, specifically in that context. He or she is going to advise you on what direction you should go in. I think the biggest problem that we've had, Apostle, is that we've had persons literally lead themselves without allowing themselves to be led.
Wow.
But y'all get that.
Wow.
We've allowed people to lead themselves without being led.
Wow.
because you think you know everything about you or where God is leading you. This is the reason why he has you sitting under a pastor to help guide you and lead you through your life, and specifically as it relates to your assignment. So to answer your question, once you get those results, I would immediately share them with your leader, share them with your pastor, so you and him can literally decide on what your next steps are, where it will lead you to your assignment.
Next question is for all three of y'all. This for me personally. And the question is, what would your advice be to a young man on what to look for in a potential partner or wife?
Wow. After being married for 39 years, some of the things I shared with you guys earlier is so important. Is the dwelling in knowledge. When we first start dating, a lot of time we fall in love with the body, the pocketbook, the nails, and the toes. Those things change over years. We end up in bad relationships because we look at the outside of individuals. Women choose men because you got nice cars. They don't know your roots. What Apostle said earlier about the tree, it's so important to understand when you're dating women, spend a lot of time talking. Spend a lot of time asking questions. The word abide actually means to stay close to, dwell with, study, understand. A lot of times the nation now, I think 51% of all marriages end in divorce. That's in the church and in society. That means we're making wrong choices from the beginning. It don't just happen once you get married. The choice was wrong from the beginning. And I believe the intimacy starts with the knowledge of each other before you hop in bed with each other.
I've been married 37 years. So 39, 37. How long you been married? 36. So this is a nice progression here, right? So you see all this? Over 100 years of marriage. Yeah, sure. Over 100 years of marriage. That's a lot.
Wow, that's major.
That's a lot.
That's a lot.
That's a lot.
No, sir.
To answer your question, to add on to what he said, for you young people or you people looking to be in a relationship, whoever you decide to be with, deal with that person in reality. Most relationships fail because the person don't look like the one you dreamed of.
Wow.
See, that's what mess females up. Females mess up because they say, I want a man that checks these boxes. But when she get him, he don't check them boxes. Instead of realizing that you can't check all the boxes when you meet him. Boxes are meant to be checked as you progress in the relationship. She wants all the boxes checked up front. So that's why the relationship don't survive. So whatever you do, young man, deal with it in reality, right? Be real about what she can become, not what you want her to become, because that's where the struggle gonna be. You want her to be a 10 if she an 8. You're gonna be in trouble if she want to be staying at an 8. You understand? If she want to stay at an 8 and you want a 10, now you're gonna have a problem because you forcing her to be something that is not her gift. So just deal with the relationship in reality and be okay with that.
What I've been, what I've found out in not only the 36 years, but also as I've been counseling couples, you have to, it may sound very cliche-ish or it may sound as elementary, but you really have to make sure that you are equally yoked to that individual. And equally yoked even within the ministry, because everybody that comes doesn't want to be a disciple, they want to be a church member. If you are deciding that God, that this is my life and I want to be a disciple and I want to be used by God, believe me, if you do not have, I've dealt with this in a lot of counseling sessions, if that other person just want to sit and come on Sunday, but then the other person really want to activate their gift, they really want to be used by God, that can be a problem. So I've been sharing with persons, if you are coming and you really want to enter into this relationship and you want it and you believe God is going to take it further, if you are a disciple, my prayer is you find another disciple, or at least is on that path to wanting to become a disciple.
I want to share something else that I discovered. I listen to secular radio sometimes, and they call in and they ask men questions, they ask women questions. So they ask a woman, "What do you want in a man?" And she would describe exactly what she wanted in a man, and they would all agree. The moment they ask a man, "What do you want in a woman?" If he says a certain size, certain shape, one guy said, "I don't like women that has implants anywhere on their body." And they called in the radio station and just went off on them. One thing I want to warn men about is when you're dating, be specific of what you want. Because one thing in the Black culture, we can't ever say what we really want. We're always hiding and not telling the truth. And that's why we talk about if she's an 8 and you want her to be a 10, be honest when you meet her about what your dreams and what your desires are. Because just because everybody makes 6 figures, it doesn't mean you're yoked with the right person.
And by the way, 8 is subjective. So to her, 8 is a 10. You see what I mean? It's all subjective, gentlemen. It's all subjective. It's not objective. Beauty is not objective. It's in the eye of the beholder. So an 8 is a 10, right? You just got to be okay with coming off your 10 and accepting her as the 8 that she is. And she may very well be the 10 that you want, right? Any married man in here is going to tell you this also as an advice. Women come into the world born with inherent value. That is value that they're born with. But the same value men have to earn. You understand? So you just need to understand any woman you with is going to come with a sense of entitlement, a sense of privilege. I've been married for 37 years. My wife regularly uses, "I need you to do this." "Why you need me to do this?" "Because I'm your wife." That's privilege. She never asked me whether she earned, because it's irrelevant to her. It's irrelevant whether she earned from me the right to demand from me what she's asking of me, because for her, just simply being my wife, now I have to earn the same request. You see? So just know that women come into the world with already an inherent value, which means they're going to show up with a sense of privilege. So you got to be prepared to deal with that.
I'm over here taking my time. but, but out of like wisdom, yeah, like you said, y'all have a lot of wisdom, a lot of, years. Not saying y'all old, but the point is, what are some things that, what's some things that is great to start? So for me personally, like what's some things, like some habits that I should start now that y'all have knowledge of right, in your age that y'all wish you could have done earlier that I can kind of establish now in my life? I want to hear from all 3 of y'all if y'all don't mind.
I'll jump in first. Apostle just said it earlier. Identifying who you are and the weakness that you have. One thing I never did earlier is I've never ever been to counseling before, but now I'm seeing a therapist. And the thing that I realized is I've always put everything else and everybody else before myself. And that does cause roots to go deeper because I become angry because I didn't accomplish something I want to accomplish. If you're a young man and you're seeking to be a husband or a dad, the best thing you can do is work on yourself and know who you are before you bring anybody else into that atmosphere.
Is this relating just to manhood, marriage, or what do you?
In general, so yeah, it
General.
could, yeah.
In general, okay. One of the first things I wish I would have done is taken the advice of my grandmother. When I was buying my house, my grandmother told me to get a 15-year mortgage. She said, "Don't get a 30-year mortgage." I'm a mortgage loan officer by trade. And I'm like, wow, I need a lower payment. But if I would have done that, as long as I stayed in that house would have been paid for. So the wisdom of it is listen to the advice of the people God connected you to. Because it may seem old-fashioned, but I'm telling you what they're giving you are principles that work in every generation. It doesn't, there's certain principles, and then the other thing I would say, if you haven't began a discipline in saving, please discipline your life in saving. I don't care if it's a 401k. I don't care if it's just $10, $15, $20 a week. Whatever it is, discipline, incorporate in your life a passionate discipline for saving.
I would like to sort of add to the plethora of things you asked. I believe for me, one of the most important things that I wish I had to learn early is it's important to own your own stuff. And what I mean by own your own stuff is not material.
Right.
I mean, own your issues. So we go into manhood finding a reason to blame everybody else who's responsible for where we've not accomplished or where we've not come in. If I had to learn early on to own my own stuff, to admit when I was wrong, to acknowledge that my way don't always have to be the right way, you know, how many things I could have saved as a result of it. Whatever you do, and that's just, you know what that requires? It requires you being accountable. Don't be about, find you somebody, man, who is not impressed with your success. Wow. Who can be honest with you and can tell you, dude, you were straight up wrong. And you'll get mad at him, but then y'all will connect and you're like, bro, you were right. I was wrong and I shouldn't have done it. And men don't have that kind of ear in their life.
How y'all doing? God bless y'all. Thank y'all for sharing your wisdom. Best question I can ask right now, definitely, because other questions have been really good, is I guess simplifying things. Sometimes me personally, I look a little bit too much forward. But lately I've been, over some years, I've been trying to just conquer the day. So, or conquer the day in his name. Let me finish my sentence. But so if you guys don't mind, just let me know what's an average, like, I guess, how do you conquer your day? Just the routinely day, Monday or Friday or Saturday, you know what I mean? Like, what is it that your habits is? You make sure, boom, boom. You guys get the question. Y'all get the question.
That's good. That's good. That's a great question. I incorporated a habit right after I started. We started our ministry in 2015, 2016. We came to 500 McCormick Drive. For me, to make sure I conquer that day, and this is as basic as you can, man, I began to speak in tongues for an hour a day, Apostle. And I'm gonna tell y'all why. And I know some of y'all, what you talking about, it's a prayer language that taps into the wisdom of God. You know why I want to tap into the wisdom of God? Because I want God to direct my day. I want God to order my steps. And so in order for me to come out of myself, I want to make sure I'm hearing directly from, and I'm telling you, Apostle, it's changed. So from that point, and then I have another prayer call that I'm on. So I'm literally soaking myself before I even leave the house. I'm in prayer. And then once I get to the office, because the great thing, I have the privilege of working at the church, I'm literally focused on exactly the topics the issues that I need to work on. And I've had to discipline myself to start with the one issue that I'd be avoiding. Everybody has an issue that they avoid. Everybody has something they avoid, right? That should be the first thing you deal with. Deal with that one that you're always avoiding. Now it's easy for me to say it, but of course I'm still practicing that. And then I just allow God to order my steps, telling me exactly what I did. So for me, that's how I'm able to tackle and conquer the day that God has placed before me. And Apostle, this gentleman has been a major force in that, because I've seen, and God said to me, literally, this is what I need you to do to be able to manifest what you just asked. Thank you.
One thing that I do the same thing every morning. When I wake, I got a table, and it sits by a window, and I love nature, so I sit right by a tree where the trees are blowing, and I would either pray or I would read the word. But I sit there every morning. Sometimes It could be 45 minutes. Sometimes it could be 2 or 3 hours. And what I do in the morning is I'm always praying. And one thing I got is called a goal point. It's called a goal point. And what I normally do with the goal point is I set something positive before me every single day that'll make me smile. When I get up in the morning time, I got one thing I'm looking to accomplish. And believe me, sometimes the goal point is picking my wife up from work. I said something positive in front of me every single day, something positive that I'm going to do every single day. But I spend time in the morning reading, studying, and praying. And then what I do, I've listed in my Bible a list of everybody I know, whether they're church members, family members, and I put them in groups of 5, and I pray for them every single day. And every year I make a new list. But every morning I go through that list praying for them. I make that positive point every single day, something that I'm going to shoot for to get me there each single day to keep me focused.
I'll add to those beautiful gems. Simple, you guys, is one of the disciplines I apply is I believe that self-care is not selfish. That's right. And because I believe it's not selfish, I determine to give the first minutes of every day to myself. That's the discipline I engage in. Because all of us are givers. You're either taking care of grandchildren, you're going to work, you're solving the world's problems, solving issues, things like this. You should begin every day by giving the first minutes of the day to yourself. You need to decide to give yourself 10 minutes, 30 minutes, where it's about nobody else but you. And in that time, if you want to pray, in that time you want to meditate, I make it a habit of reading something every day from a different book other than the Bible. I mean, I'll read something that is related to some subject that I want to improve myself in, but I have a book, I have the Bible, whatever. But I believe that every man should give himself the first minutes of the day. You get to decide what those minutes are, but you should give yourself. That may require that if you're going to give yourself the first minutes of the day, that may require, gentlemen, you not trying to stay up late the night before.
That's right.
Right? Because you think that the age you're at, you can handle both ends. That's a lie. You can't. That's the lie you tell yourself. It's like a little kid that don't want to go to sleep. Well, I don't want to go to sleep. I'm fighting sleep. But I would suggest to you shaving off minutes at the end of the day so you can give yourself those minutes at the beginning of the day. And then slip out of the room while your wife is asleep, while the kids are still asleep, and you dedicate them early minutes to yourself. It literally sets the context for the entire day. Literally. Now you ain't got to worry about the rest of the day thinking that you missed giving yourself something because you gave yourself the first minutes of it. Give yourself the first minutes of every day. 10 minutes, 30 minutes, half hour, 45 minutes, whatever you can adjust to. Give yourself those first minutes of the day. That's a great way for the discipline of your life.
Thank you, gentlemen. On the spiritual scripture of physician, heal thyself, you said own your stuff. Today's world keeps asking you to be in your feelings. I'm old school. I was raised to be tough, take a punch, give a punch. I don't understand, because I'm taught address your woman's feelings. Your feelings are, I don't have no feelings. Mm-hmm. There is no feelings. I have to deal everything on a logical basis. So on that point, physician, heal thyself, I always think about mind, body, and spirit. That's for me and God to work out. Because a lot of times in the day, ain't nobody else there. Yeah. So I like to think about a lot of this stuff that people are talking today about, express your feelings. I don't get that. Yeah. I just don't get that.
I appreciate that because that's so paramount. Here's the thing. When we talk about men connecting to their feelings, the real, and I'm glad you raised that verse about the physician, heal yourself, which is the reason why Jesus didn't come down off the cross, even though he was capable of doing it. Because that was the thing that they said to him. Well, he saved others. Won't he come down and save himself? Let's see. Because he realized at that moment that wasn't a time to self-diagnose the problem. That was his prime. He knew his mission was greater than trying to come up with his own solution about what was wrong with him. The idea of a feeling. Here's the thing, gentlemen. when we talk about men getting connected with feelings, there's two roads to choose with feelings: empathy and sympathy. The feelings that men need to get into that makes you comfortable is the sympathy. Empathy requires you getting in the other person's shoes. Well, nobody's asking you to get into a woman's shoes, but sympathy just requires you to acknowledge that she's got feelings. That's how you do it. You just, if you can acknowledge it, you don't got to feel, but if you can acknowledge, that is, if you can sit there, whether you got feelings or not, if you can just sit there and let her feel, you can still stay a man at the end of the day. You can still be tough at the end of the day, but she just needs to know, are you comfortable with her expressing how she feel without you having a judgment, an opinion, or a comment about it? That's just all that is. That's so it's just sympathy. Empathy says, I've experienced what you've experienced. Sympathy says, this must be really hard for you. That's the difference. So I think that, for men who have been raised old school like that, the better path for them is the path of sympathy. And that way, if you can just affirm, acknowledge that they have feelings and that's okay for this, and that it's a safe space between us for you to feel the way you feel, if whatever that produces is safe here. Because here's the thing, if she don't produce it before you, she gonna produce it before somebody else. And it won't always be another female. This guy got it. The rest of y'all missed that, right? Bro, you shut, yeah, right? That's like, you understand? Because at the end of the day, some guy who gets it, a woman engages with another male, not because he feels her empathetically, but because he gives her space for those emotions. So then that's when she goes back home and she's like, well, Ralph, he don't have no problem with it. Ralph don't live here. That's true. So the way you work that is the path of sympathy. Just acknowledge that the feelings are, that they belong there and it's okay for her to express them. That's how you deal with that. Great question.
Build on top of his question, how does a man deal with his feelings? Like, does he go about it the same way to at least acknowledge what he's feeling? And then how does he build on that?
One of the skills that we are embarking on in our ministry is emotional intelligence. When you operate with a high level of emotional intelligence, you are acknowledging your feelings. You're even asking yourself, why am I feeling like this? What has triggered me? But what we are teaching is how to express what you're feeling in a very healthy way. You have to acknowledge why you're feeling certain ways. You have to acknowledge why I'm feeling like this towards an individual, why I'm getting angry, why do I have this feeling towards this. And once you acknowledge it, this is where your relationship with God comes in. And I know we're spiritual because we're preachers, and this is our go-to. This is what we do. When you look at the life of Jesus Christ and how he managed his emotions, how he managed his feelings when things were going wrong. I talk about it. I use the term managing the unmanageable, because when the unmanageable comes in, all of these feelings can go on inside of you: anxiety, anger. And once you acknowledge that it's going on, it's now your relationship that's going to help you. Your relationship with God is going to help you direct you on how to deal or how to express those feelings. So, and look it up. It's a lot of great articles, like Apostle just talked about, reading things outside of the Bible to be able to help manage. Read up on emotional intelligence. It is big, because I believe emotional intelligence, Apostle, is what got us into some of the boardrooms that other people couldn't get into. You're missing it. You missed it. Emotional intelligence, because we might be in a boardroom with other people that don't look like us, and it literally may say some things that they really shouldn't say, but emotional intelligence has taught us how to respond to it in a very healthy way. But because we're so angry all the time, God ain't gonna allow you in a boardroom where you're gonna embarrass him, because you lack the emotional intelligence to be able to manage friction. You don't know how to manage unmanageable moments. So here comes a skill set
that God is now planting in you right here in this meeting. Emotional intelligence is an area that you have to be able to acquire and be able to elevate your life in.
Yeah, I'm gonna tell you the trick. Remember this: the brain is lazy. The brain is lazy. The brain always tries to find the shortcut.
Yep.
Always. The brain will always look for the shortcut because the brain don't want to do the work. So rather than doing the work of becoming more emotional, what does the brain do? Default to the shortcut of, well, this is who I always have been. See, that's the trick. See, the brain plays tricks. So let me ask you a question. Which is harder, to express emotion or to suppress them? Which one is hard? That's right. Suppressing emotions is harder, yet we spend more time doing what? Suppressing them. Right? Now, see what you said? We spend more time doing what? The hard thing. If suppressing emotion is hard, why are we still doing the hard thing? Come on here. Expressing them is easy. So you just affirm that suppressing them is hard, yet we still doing the hard. Even though you know it's hard, but we still doing the hard work. So that's what the brain does. The brain, feelings, the trick of feelings is feelings don't know the difference between reality and fantasy. So don't know the difference. So the struggle with our feelings is that if I don't know, as the doctor said here, I don't know how to manage the space between reality and fantasy. So rather than feel, I just suppress. And y'all know, class, what happens when you suppress the feelings? Pushes all that down into the root system. And then guess what happened? The roots get thicker and go deeper. Makes it much more difficult to unearth.
Well, I want to share with the gentleman. Say your name, Jeffrey. You said a few minutes ago that you don't have feelings. And I think with this understanding emotional intelligence, one thing we have to understand is when you suppress the feelings, we're talking about health. It affects every part of your body. We're talking about pushing roots down, but you imagine how much you put on your own on your own arteries towards your heart, your blood flow, stress. All that comes when you say, I don't have feelings. And you might be young today, and we'll see you 2 years from now, like you done gained 10 years on life because we've suppressed everything and we've not opened our mouth. And a lot of men, our problem is we don't want to talk. We don't want to say we're going through. You don't have to understand a woman. We talked about Jesus earlier. One thing Jesus never did was suppress anything. If he had something to say, he said it, I don't care who was in the room, he said it out of love. But as men, it's our responsibility to open our mouths and talk in truth, whether it's with our family, with our friends, or wherever you are. Because when you suppress stuff, it makes you angry, it makes you bitter. And this is why men are leaving churches in groves, because they feel they don't have a voice. If you're at home as a husband, you feel you don't have a voice, you're going to walk out on your family. If you're a dad and you don't feel you have a voice with your children, you're going to walk out on your children. So it's detrimental that we open our mouths and begin to share and say the things we do, because we do have feelings. I don't care what folks say you don't have. Apostle said earlier, if you get mad, it's because you had a feeling. When you get excited, it's because you had a feeling. You here today because you got a feeling God's up to something major in this season in both of these houses. That's why we're here today. I got a feeling God's about to do something in you guys' lives that you never ever experienced before. You've never seen before, because we're now opening up to each other as men.
Now, notice the difference. He said, notice the difference. You guys who are married, go home and say this to your wife, if you dare, if you brave. Just get the blanket for the couch. But if you're brave, though, just be brave. You make that, because there's a difference between openness and vulnerability. Right? Openness is I'm open to sharing with you that doesn't cost me anything. Vulnerability requires a risk.
That's right. Wow.
And the reason why we're not vulnerable with our wives is because we took a risk to be transparent and it wasn't received well.
Wow. Wow.
So that's the reason why we're not vulnerable with them. So now they come in saying to you, you don't ever talk. You don't ever express. Well, because I took a risk. and it cost me. And I felt when I took a risk, you disrespected me as a man, or you didn't hear me as a man. So I took the risk. So literally go home and tell your wife, you know what, honey, I struggle with being vulnerable with you, and see what she says. Go ahead and say that. I struggle with being vulnerable with you. See what she said. Go on, Deacon Ted, what she gonna say? Tell her, I struggle with being vulnerable with you. Yeah, that's right. Struggle with being vulnerable with you. See what she says. You can tell me everything. Yeah, that's a trap. So I told you everything last time. I was vulnerable with you. I told you that, you know, those light caramel complected females, I like them. I told you that. But I said, you're the only one I love. But when I told you that, now you bring, oh, I know what you're doing. You just looking at her. No, I was just trying to tell you the truth. That she ain't that kind of accountability, bruh. Anyway.
Thank you, gentlemen, for just being there. I have a very serious question for myself. I want to know why God loves us. Can you help me? Why does God love us?
Can I ask you why you asking that question?
I learned how to love him because he is real. He is the realest thing I've ever known in my life. And before I even knew him, he has always known me.
Wow.
So you almost answered your question. You literally answered your question
right there.
And we say that because as pastors and leaders in ministry, one of our things is that guess what? We want to teach persons to have that kind of relationship with God so you can get that answer straight from him. What persons have done, and we've allowed, or we position ourselves, yeah, we want to be able to give forth the information, we want to be able to give forth the revelation, but the greatest thing that we can see, and we will be believe that we've achieved, is when you're starting to get it for yourself. You just received the revelation from God for yourself. And when you get those kind of revelations, then almost like with when you're in a situation where you can't get myself, you can't get this pastor, you couldn't get that leader, you need to hear from God for who? Yourself. So now you know why God loves you. He loves you so much is because he wants to make sure you not only start living your best life right now, is that he gets the greatest and the closest relationship with you that he can ever have.
Wow. Wow.
And I'm gonna take two different parts of the Bible and bring them together in one, and then tell you what is common among men. Again, this is my clinical hat on. One part of the Bible says that we're made in his image.
Yes.
Another part of the Bible says that he is love. So he loves you because he can't help it.
That's right.
Because that's his nature. His nature is love. Number two, we're created in his image. For him not to love you means that he hates what he created. Well, he can't hate you because his image is in you. So he has to love you. So loving you is he loving himself. You see what I'm saying? The biggest issue among men, the biggest hatred among men is self-hatred. We struggle with loving ourselves. It's the biggest, right? We struggle with loving ourselves. And that's why we don't go to the doctor to get the general checkup. That's why we don't take time to take care of our emotions. That's why we're not, because we hate ourselves, right? And so that's why we struggle with a God who loves us, right? We struggle. Remember, the Bible says that God, at one time with God, two times that God used hate. It was never the person, it was the behavior. In Proverbs 6, it said he hates a lying tongue. In Malachi, he said he hates divorce. He never said he hated the people who were divorcing. So he don't hate you, because to hate you is to hate himself, because you're made in his image. So he can't help but love you while at the same time. But the goal of him loving us is so that we learn self-love. Right? The biggest hatred among men is self-hate. It's not the other guy you hate. Sometimes you hate the other person because it's a reflection of you hating yourself. The revelation for me that woke me up one day in my marriage was in Ephesians, where Paul was given the role of husband and wife, when he's saying, wives, submit yourself unto your husband. But then he says, wives, submit yourself to your husband, sacrifice, right? But then down in that text, he says, no man nourishes and cherishes himself to the neglect of his wife. That was an epiphany for me back in 2004 when I realized, how can I say I love my wife if I'm not going to the doctor to get regular checkups? That I run the risk healthily with the history that I have family wise to leave my wife a widow and my children orphan because I wouldn't go get exams regularly. And because I made a decision to go get exams regularly, I saved my life because I had a heart attack in 2004 at 40 years old. I had a heart attack. I had what was called the widow maker because men did not survive that type of attack. I had a artery that brought blood to the heart that was 95% blocked. It was nobody but the grace of God. Because I was climbing a volcano in Vanuatu, which is 3 hours northwest of Australia, on a missions experience, teaching leaders and pastors of my church with a 95% blocked artery. Something was wrong, but like Jeff said, but the man was taught, oh, suck it up. So here, walking from here to that pole, I break into deep sweats, but I thought, suck it up. That's where your dad taught you, suck it up. And I read that verse, and it's like, if you love your wife, you love yourself. Take care of yourself, man. Went to the doctor. Dude, your artery is blocked. If you had to miss one more day, we've been burying you. And I have 2 stents they had to put in overlap into that artery. And I've had to take blood pressure medication for the rest of my life ever since that moment. Because they told me it was genetic. I have a congestive coronary artery disease. But had I not woke up to the fact that, oh, you know what? Loving my wife is not just bringing home the check. Loving my wife is loving myself. Because when I love myself, then I'm actually loving them too. That's why we love God. And that's why he loves us. That's a health moment.
Testing. Testing in my hey, hi Apostle. How are you? Thank you. I don't like to sit down and talk. I'm a kind of stand up kind of guy. We was talking about these feelings, and when we was talking about the feelings, the question I have for you, at one point I used to say to people, feelings ain't fact, right? We've been talking about that. But then the guy turned around and told me, but it's a fact, you're gonna feel it. And that meant a lot to me. So is this being recorded? Yeah. Okay, I'm gonna hold this something back then on that one. Because I don't want to be. I've been clean 25 years. Right? And that's not for no clap. That's not for a clap. It's for a reason. I'm telling you this, right? One of the reasons I used to use was over feelings. I didn't know what to do with the feelings.
Man.
You understand me?
Yes.
And when I started working the process, the 12-step process, but tying it to God too, right? I started learning how to address my feelings, my issues, working on making amends to people. A whole lot of things is in that process. And one of the things I found was having an accountability partner and somebody I could share with. A lot of guys come to church and don't share what's really going on with them. I'm a deacon in this church, right? And a lot of times I end up interacting with people on this surface level. I don't talk to them about what's really going on with me. I got an outside crew for that. But we need to have some accountability in the church where we can talk to each other, like this brother say. And if it ain't for your wife, because everything ain't for me to share with my wife, because sometimes it's her, it's my issue, right? I got to go talk to this brother. Now, she ain't my issue. It starts with me and it ends with me, right? But I'm going through something with her, and I don't need to talk to her about what I don't like about what's going on with her, so I need to go find me somebody who I can go talk to, right? So what I'm asking, I'm going to boil this down to what I'm going to ask you, this panel here, right? But it applies to all of us. What you going to do with your feelings? And that's what I'm going to ask this question, right? What should we do? Now, you can't share with everybody. That's what I wanted to know, because I don't want my anonymity broken. Right? I don't want this on film, necessarily, right? Because I don't break my anonymity. That's one of my principles. I don't usually break my anonymity. But I've been with y'all too long to not be real with y'all, right? Where do we get our accountability partners from? How do we get them? I'm starting to do that with Pastor Wayne. I've been knowing him a long time. I'm just starting to trust him like that, where I can say what's really going on with me. So how do we do that? What's your recommendation for getting an accountability partner that you can be honest and trust and vice versa? Because that trust got to go two ways. All right, that's my question to y'all. And I do that, but I'm talking about amongst the saints, right? There's two ways. I do that with God, right? But I also want to do that amongst my brothers. I do it. I'm putting it out there because really what I'm saying is, I got it. I ain't really asking the question just for me. I'm doing it for some of these young men who don't have, who ain't, because you don't want to pay the price I had to pay to get this.
Come on.
That's a deep price
Come
I had
on.
to pay.
That's why you went through it, so you can share with others.
I shared this before. I'm a reader. I typically am able to execute things when I read them and I study them. Please write this book title down, and it will help you answer that question if you have that issue with accountability. Relational intelligence. Dr. Darius Daniels. I've been teaching it for about a month. What he shared with us was that inner and outer circle. You have an inner circle that you are going to acquire, but you still have folk that's on your outer circle, of course. Of course, he talked about the 3 and the 12. The problem that many of us have is in the past, the reason why we don't have accountability partners is because we've shared inner circle information with outer circle people. And outer circle people couldn't handle the inner circle information, and they didn't know how to deal with it. And so since they didn't know how to deal with it, they spread it or did something they weren't supposed to do with it. It teaches you this. I mean, Darius, Dr. Daniels, and I just love reading, but this right here has changed so much and helped me because he talked about how to incorporate and how to evaluate person's character. Because one of the things that you need to understand is as you're evaluating people to become part of your inner circle, you're evaluating their character. The character that you want to match with. If you are matching with the same type of person that you are, that can really hold your information and really be able to help guide you through the wilderness. I have one person as an accountability partner. And guess what? That's all I need. Is that one person that I can go to and really be able to share. So the book gives you almost tips on how to do it, but what really happens, as the brother just shared, God will give you the actual formula that you need. What he did for me is he allowed me to see it in a way that helps me to learn it, and that was through that reading. So I'm sharing with you in this, that inner circle that you need to create is going to come by way of you evaluating the people that God has connected you with to see if their character traits match the boundaries that you have set up for your life.
Add to this, Ted, that is the key for all of us. What he just said won't work unless you examine which one of those roots at the base of your tree that's keeping you from starting to trust people.
That's right. Wow. That's right.
Because the formula is beliefs plus thoughts plus feelings equal behavior. Behavior goes all the way back to what you believe. Belief is the root. You have a root connected to your tree system that prevents you from being vulnerable to people. And until you deal with the root, none of this stuff is going to work.
That's right.
You can read all the books all day. All it's going to do is put a pause on it, but it's not going to fix it. If you don't deal with the root first, if one of your roots is that you were hurt and you don't trust nobody, that root needs to be healed first. Or you're not going to trust nobody, because you know what you're going to do? You're going to spread that poison in any relationship that you have. Then literally you're going to look for accountability that matches the poison that you have. You got to heal the root, right? And if you don't get that root healed, you can't change the behavior. That's why behavior keeps repeating itself, because we never get the root changed. No matter what we said. All we've said here today, all afternoon, it starts with root examination. If you don't change what you believe, you will not change your behavior, period. Okay, we got some some money to give away, right? Come on, let's do it. Yeah, let's talk about
The
money.
money. Get into the money.
Now, the only people who cannot win is the people who have a root that believes that money is the root of all evil. Now, if you believe that money is the root of all evil, yeah. But if you believe money, because they get the Bible messed up, right? So they take love out of it. But if you believe money is the root of all evil, you can't win.
There you go. All right. So first,
You got time to change that root system.
Come on. All right. So first, I want to make this announcement. August 26th, lock in that date. We'll be having a men's fellowship. We'll be giving you a little bit more details on that at a later date, but lock in the date. August 26th. Also, September 24th will be the Men's Recognition Sunday here at New Life. So come, we're going to be recognizing the men because men need to be recognized. It's that simple. All right, so let's see. Let's shake that up a little bit. Show them we're not cheating. All right. Okay. All right. So this one, if he doesn't give it to you, that means you ain't ready for it. So number is 566351. There it is. All right, so give him your Cash App. Okay. Next one. All right. 566379. Oh, look at that. All right. Yeah. And get Elder Raymond. All right. So last thing. Too close? You saw me. I was like this. Clap it up. All right. So that's only two. So what I would like to do, because we want to make sure we Kodak this moment, I would like for the men to start staggering up front. We're going to line up on the stage, step, and we're going to get a picture of this. After the picture, everybody can go home. Matter of fact, hey, we got all these men. We can clean up. We clean up, then we go home. We sent the ladies home early.